It says 12:30 o'clock, so we'll make a start. I am obliged to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings and are requested to give prior notice so that any additional measures that may assist can be put into place. Any member of the public who has any concerns should raise it now. So item 1 is apologies for absence, and we have apologies from Councillor Joyce Barrow. Item 2 is disclosable pecuniary interests.
You don't have to, but I've got one on item 10.
Right, just so everybody's clear, Robert Macy has got an interest on item 10, which is going to be discussed in confidential probably, but he will leave the room for that item. Item 3 of the minutes from the last meeting, they have been distributed separately. You should have all had them on email and there are paper copies available, so I'm assuming everybody's seen them. I read them, they looked all right to me. Yeah. Okay, so those are agreed. Item 4, public question time. I'm told there are no public questions. Item 5 is member questions. No member questions. Item 6, scrutiny items, and there are reports here, and there's Councillor Claire Wilde. Claire.
Thank you very much, Leader. I wanted to say a few words, since I have you all assembled here. Firstly, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Rob Macy. All this work's been going on for probably 6 or 8 months, so we've had probably about 10 meetings. And I think it is very heartening for the members of the group who've worked very hard to actually have the portfolio holder take such interest. So I was thanking the members who took the time out, also to Rob, because I think it was really, really helpful. And also I was saying thank you. Adrian Cooper and Eddie West were very good. I'm aware they have a very small team and they're under a lot of pressure with the local plan review, so my thanks to them as well. And I'd just like to say that the report's in front of you. I would like you to note it and go away and have a think about it. This Task and Finish group was formed really out of sheer frustration because there's all this money in the pot and nothing's happening. So I'm really hoping that this will be the starting point of some action. And I'm happy to take any questions anybody has got.
Well, thank you for your work on this, and I think you're right that what we should do is note it, but any comments? Yeah, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. A member of it, but due to other circumstances I wasn't able to attend all meetings, but this report gives me big problems, especially for rural areas, and especially for the place plan area around Shrewsbury. That place plan area covers just under 1/3 of the county. Big area. And if you turn to page 513, where it says the key change in the current approach is that no SIL local, and that is a really misnomer using the word local funds will be ring-fenced for parish council. It means that any SIL payment will be this after the payment to the local and the admin and the strategic. All the rest will essentially be used to fulfil the strategic responses of Shropshire Council, including education.
Yeah.
There is a problem, for example, being parochial, Hanwood is raising SIL payments. Hanwood is in the central place plan area. All its children go to Mary Webb. So if there is a requirement for education to use some of that SIL to fulfil in Shrewsbury area, the because of the pressure on schools in that area, Hanwood will be paying for that, and it will be not to the benefit of that community. That community will lose, and if I've got to sell
Oh, hang on a
housing,
minute. Fairlyweb isn't under pressure for places. They'd have to build millions of houses in that area to make that change.
I know. So Hanwood has got some critical infrastructure which they
Come on,
is-
well, hang on. I don't agree with you, because actually, if Hanwood really needs things, they're going to be better positioned because they'll have a wider pot of money to pull on.
No, they will not, Chairman. The Shropshire Council is looking at strategic, it's education, health and things like this. I had a conversation 2 days ago about road improvements that have been classed as key, and I'm being told that the road improvements which have now been cancelled by the Highways Department because of their reduction in budget is not to be considered as part of the place plan. So there is difficulty in that if I'm going to sell, and other councillors are going to sell local housing in rural areas and say it will help you do things in your local area, most of the funds they will not have access to. The way it
That's
is
not
written.
true, though. It's not that they won't have access to them. They'll be in a bigger pool, and you'll have to fight amongst the bigger pool to make sure you get your share.
In the central area, Chairman, it says can be used in the relevant place plan area.
Well,
The
exactly.
place plan area, when one looks at Shrewsbury, the work that is being done in Shrewsbury, the future requirements of education in Shrewsbury, that will trump anything else coming from the rural areas. And that wording on page 5 will be that no SIL local funds will be ring fenced for the parish area where the development occurred. Instead, all SIL local funds will be allocated to projects within the place plan area where the development occurred. So, as I say, in all the rural areas around Shrewsbury, it is unlikely that any SIL payments can be expected by those because of the pressures.
Do you want to comment? Claire?
Yeah, can I just say that the system we have is unique in the whole country. The majority of the rest of the country just have one strategic pot, and they get the money spent. The system we've got is clearly not working. For whatever reason, that's a matter for Cabinet. But one of our suggestions is that there is a member group or member involvement, and this hopefully will give Roger some comfort, because hopefully the members will actually ensure that things get moving, and also will be able to take into consideration all the numerous local issues that there are. But I have to stress, if you look through the paperwork, I think 95% of the rest of the country just have one pot, and it works.
Roger.
Yeah, welcome the member group, and hopefully it will sort a few things out. But I am concerned that parishes have not been involved with this at all. The changes being suggested there, no conversation. It does say that parishes will be informed about it, but as part of this preparation, parishes have no knowledge of it. There was a meeting of the area, meeting around the Shrewsbury area, the central area of parish councils, and all expressed amazement that this was happening, and it was unanimous around the table that everyone was concerned that this would cause a change. And if we're looking at the new local plan, the likelihood of the parishes being able to come forward with housing, hopefully they will, but the emphasis would be that there would be no payments coming to them because of their reading of this as well as mine.
Steve Chalmers, thanks.
Thank you, Leader. Just in response to Roger's latest statement, I don't know what happens in other parish councils and town councils, but I've been telling my 2 parish councils that change is coming to SIL for the last 6 months. I said prepare yourselves, and you need to get some projects in mind to spend the SIL which you've got, because that may be clawed back at some point as well, which is a national rule. The one parish council got about 65,000 in their neighbourhood fund, the other one's got about 25. at the moment they haven't got any plan to do anything with it because it's too much money too quickly for them, and it's basically sinking them. So and that's just the neighbourhood fund, never mind the local fund. So God help them if they have to deal with the major money in that fund.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the recommendations is that actually SIL is incredibly simple. It is really simple, but the message hasn't been communicated particularly well. So one of the suggestions is that actually members are briefed correctly, as are the parish and town councils, whether that's through the LJCs or not, that's up to you. I think the reason why people have got frustrated and not being able to understand it is because we've had this system for 3 years and nothing's happened. And so they think it's because they don't understand it, but actually they do, but it's been our inability to actually deliver.
Alan?
Bearing in mind, I think Rogers again that they get their neighbourhood fund down anyway. And clearly, if you look at other parts of the street, if you pick and choose different areas, it certainly wouldn't be appropriate for Bicton Parish Council to get all the funding and the decision making for what's going to happen in that part of the world related to housing. So on balance, I agree that the wider distribution and decision making is the right thing for this. But I am a bit, I don't know what, when you talk about member advisory group, I don't know what composition that there is for that group, what will be in terms of reference for the group, how they will feed into the internal infrastructure group, and what the relationship between that decision-making internal infrastructure group will be to cabinet, and how the whole decision-making process is going to work on these things.
And I don't know all the details. What I will say though is it will be politically balanced, so the your two groups should have an input into it.
Not politically balanced based on political balance in the actual local area.
No, on the council.
Well, is that appropriate? Should it not be
Oh, well, let's-
based on the local
well,
area?
we'll have that debate
Like
as further
planning
time.
committees and things like that?
You mean so you'd have control of it?
Who? No, the Tories would have control. But we
Anyway.
might get some more satisfactory decision making arising from it.
I don't think it's a problem. It will, but that will be sorted out as we go along. We'll make sure there's discussion. Roger? If this will be a
It
final
is,
one.
my basic problem is, and many others' basic problem is the size of the place plan area in the centre of the county, around Shrewsbury. It's
I
a
know,
third
you've already
of
made
the,
that
third of
point.
the population is there. And-
You're repeating yourself.
Yeah, but that is the main problem. And as Alan says, if one follows through with the way the planning is organised and agreed, it does reflect the proportionality of that area. And if we're talking about a third of the county, surely it should reflect the political proportionality of that to ensure that the adequacy and the deliverance is there.
Steve?
This is the NOP report.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
does it come back?
Yeah, I was going to say you should might.
Oh, sorry.
Somebody turn their phone
This
off.
is the NOP report. When does it come back to confirm the report?
Okay, so ideally, I think what will happen is Cabinet will discuss the report, and Rob will come up with some suggestions. Hopefully he might share that with the group, and we can come up with something that's hopefully acceptable to everyone. But I have to say, one of the issues that came up was there was this internal group which had no member involvement whatsoever, and had been meeting quarterly, I think, for about 3 years, and nothing was happening. So obviously, we wanted to try and have some input into that. And initially, after the first time we brought the report back, Rob actually got to go to the meetings as portfolio holder. But we do feel that it does need member involvement to drive this forward.
I wanted to hear from Claire and from the opposition as well, just to get their comments. My first thing is to thank Claire for the work that the committee's done. The members of the Task and Finish group really showed an enthusiasm for the subject, and to get in there and get into the detail of it, which has been really helpful. They have taken their time to consider it, and that's purely because of the amount of work that they've done on this. So as we say, today is about noting the recommendations that the committee has come up with, and that's for Cabinet then to consider, and through myself and the rest of the Cabinet to come back with proposals. What I would say is obviously from the point of view of what SIL is designed to deliver, it is around making sure we've got the right infrastructure in the county. If we're going to do that, that is about we've got to come up with a clear list that takes into account local involvement and going to Roger's point of we have got to listen to our communities and so on, but we've got to get to the point of we then have a list of schemes, they are prioritised, and that we deliver those based on the priorities that we have. That's key not only for us as Shropshire Council in delivering on our clear plans for the council, but for everybody else involved and the communities, that they know what is there and what is needed and what is going to be delivered. What I would say is obviously from our perspective, it is something that has been in operation for a few years now. There is a significant amount of funds that haven't made it out the door as yet, so we are going to consider this as a priority in these recommendations, and this report is very helpful in us coming up with a future direction for SIL.
Right, thank you. So is everyone happy that we note the report? Okay, thank you. Item 7, financial outturn. Councillor Minory.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm going to be brief. The report is clearly a very detailed report. This is the situation as it stood when the report was prepared. However, there are still one or two outstanding matters that have yet to be resolved, so the position that this shows may change a little bit by the time we get to the final account. And that is all to do with how we account for the shopping centre, because this is the first time we've had it in the accounts. There are, and I'm going to get really boring and telling you now, Leader, I'm afraid, but there are different ways that we can choose to treat the accrued income and the accrued expenditure in the accounts. It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference over a 12-month period, but because this is the start of that 12-month period, we need to be clear about what we include and what we carry forward into next year. And it is as complicated but as simple as that. But I present the report as it stands. We'll do my best to take questions, or perhaps colleagues, if it's specific to their particular portfolio, can deal with those. So, report.
Okay, any further comment? Roger?
Thank you, Chairman. Congratulate, and I've got to say, officers for delivering the balanced budget with a little bit of surplus. The Cabinet obviously failed to deliver. The Cabinet delivered the budget that was agreed by the Council. Because I note in it, for example, there's £1.94 million was delivered in answer to the freeze that the Chief Executive put on the Council, which is noted right towards the end of the report.
You don't think there was any member involvement in that?
It's the Chief Executive implemented it as part of an operational exercise. It's Cabinet that set the policy. The operation of the Council is the Chief Executive. And the Chief Executive, as per Q2 report, was being predicted there of £5 million overspend. And as a result of that, if I remember rightly, the Chief Executive said something needed to be done, and he imposed a pay and recruitment freeze in operation, because legally the 151 officer and the Chief Executive have to deliver a balanced budget, and the Council was plainly on course then, as I said, to deliver a £5 million overspend. So, as I say, 1.94 million, there was 5.9 million of one-off reserves used to balance the budget. I could go on, but I do note, and it does concern me, that in this coming budget that's there, it lists the number of overspends and the prediction for the future, and it does say on page 32, early help is £548,000 to deliver. However, the Cabinet only agreed in the last few weeks, month ago, to consult on that early help. But there is a prediction already that it will save over £500,000. Now, are we consulting with an open sheet and looking at it, or are we consulting with the assumption that it's going to save £500,000? I do further note that 17% or £2.5 million of the savings that the council or the cabinet said the council they would save. Cabinet didn't save and overspent by that amount. 15% of the school balances have reduced over the last 12 months because of the pressure on schools and their budgets. So yes, I congratulate the officers on returning a balanced budget of where we are, largely due to the shopping centres for it, but it's there. However, I think the cabinet have actually not done what they recommended to council and council approved in February 2017.
I'm speechless, so I'm going to move on. I've never heard such. Anyway, right. So the report has been moved by Councillor Minery. Is it all accepted? Agreed by cabinet? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Item 8, data protection policy. Councillor John.
Thank you, Leader. It just does what it says on the tin. Basically, this is an update to the Council's data protection policy to comply with the upcoming GDPR rules. So it's minor changes to the policy which will reflect our use of data. If I can, Leader, I'll just take this opportunity to remind members of the email I circulated this morning and the need to get all members trained up in the use of data, which is via the online tool, with a link which is in the email this morning. So if members can prioritise doing that, that will keep us even more legaler than before.
Right. Alan first. Yeah, let's have it.
Well, just to say, I was stupid enough to take Councillor Chalmers' advice. Well, the damn thing doesn't work. I diligently put in my email address and the password welcome one, and it rejected the login. So we might need to look at that.
I had the same problem.
I did have the same problem as well, but I did manage to work it out with a little bit of help from my 12-year-old daughter.
Thank you. I haven't done it yet, but fellow councillors who have done it have asked me to ask, could some sort of seminar be put on, briefing for members on it, on how to handle it on a face-to-face basis, because of the importance of it and handling the data correctly as a member, getting all sorts of outside advice as well. So if there could be something put on via briefing or in a room where members can go if they want advice, it would be useful.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that. Having taken I've gone through the course, it is quite self-explanatory and basic in its terminology, but if there's a need, more than happy to do that.
I think the biggest need is that for some of us who are a little less used to doing some of these things, to be able to actually get on the site and actually start answering the questions. But still, right, but I assume that's accepted by Cabinet. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move item 9, that we exclude the press and public. The next two items do include a lot of financial, confidential information, and I think we should exclude the press and public from their considerations. I'm sure I've got a seconder.